We are coming to you live from Louisville, Kentucky. We have a sunny, hot day underway, and hopefully it's not too crazy where you're at. Not going to get too crazy. I know there's some storms and whatnot a little bit north of us, and bam, I was watching a video that they sent us, and they were talking about how things should stay a little north and east of us. So I'm not wishing you guys any bad or good luck with those with that weather's systems that'll be rolling through here. The weather systems. I mean, it's like I think we have like 5 days of up and down weather, changes going on here. So we'll be dealing with that as we go. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the show. But it's going to be hot, that's for sure. We're getting hot, and I think we're going to be like mid 90s or at least low 90s today. So we'll see how that works out, and if that works out well for us. So uh, try not to get anybody hurt today in the heat. Told our crews, be careful with that for sure. And got out of here good order this morning. So want to give a big shout out to the guys and show host. I was going to say guys and gals, but Katie's not on till what Thursday. Thursdays, Katie. Katie's our Thursday. And but yeah, big shout out to Aaron Walls this morning, getting us kicked off. Had a great show. Great hearing him talk about just how he's kind of much just said, hey, I'm just going to stay small. That's what my plan is. So could have been, Hackabus, could have been. Craig, appreciate you listening too. Going to tell you guys a story that is very similar to all of ours. Something Craig sent me this morning as well, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But Hackabus had a good show talking about trimmers, string trimmers, weed eaters, weed whackers, weed whips. It was so funny hearing him to call, saying whatever you call them, because man, I'll tell you they do have different names across the country. That was when I first started doing seminars across the country, and I never forget I was talking about a weed eater one time, and a guy's like, Wayne, what the hell's a weed eater? So hey, the lingo of where you're at, it's important. So Hecapus knew that he was in the groove, saying, hey, some of you guys caught this, and this. But something else that I lingo wise for me was power seating. A lot of guys call it slit seating. So there is different lingos, but Hecapus had a really good show talking about string trimmers and guards or no guards. And I thought, man, that's an interesting topic, And but yeah, you got to go back and check that out. Any of the shows here that you hear on Lawn Pro Radio, just simply go to where you like to listen to your podcast. It's that simple, and put it in, and there it is. So we make it easy. It's push an easy button for you, whether it's Aaron or Hecabus or Daniel or Katie or let's see what else. Golly, man, it's like the beat goes on, and we got. I think John's going to be on here soon with us. We're going to get him rocking and rolling. So yeah. So hey, we're going to have a great day. We got a great show planned for you guys. Hopefully you had a good weekend. Woohoo. I did. I'll talk about mine a little bit while you guys tell me a little bit about yours. Feel free. You can, if you're watching us here in Patreon, you can comment, or if you'd like to send me a text, you can do that as well. 502-550-8307. It's 502-550-8307. Feel free to send us text or your comments. If you're watching us on Patreon, feel free to comment there as well. But just curious to know if you guys got to do a little something. Hey, even if getting to do something means doing nothing, that's doing something, And I know Hecapus, every time I say that now, I get thinking about what he said, where he just really doesn't take a weekend. He just kind of spreads his workout, across the whole week. So, unless it's something special, then I'm sure he does. But that was pretty cool thought last week when I heard him talking about that. But anyways, had a good time. Went down to visit some friends. They were at the lake, and spent Friday night down there with them, and Saturday, and then end up coming home Saturday night. About I don't know. I left down there about 10 o'clock and got home about midnight. I guess it was. So I was going to stay another night, but I just decided I'd bus on home and sleep in my own bed. I tell you what, man, I just miss my bed anymore. I mean, it's whew, I tell you, just you get used to your bed, and I don't know. Maybe it happens to you as you get a little bit older. I don't know. Some of you young guys out there tell me that are 20, 30, 40, whatever. Do you miss your bed when you go on vacation or out for the weekend and like, oh man, I just can't wait to get back in my own bed. So I don't know. Katie, you're young. What when you travel, do you like to get back to your own bed or does it matter? A lot of people say it doesn't matter, you know? She's thinking about it, so it can't be as dramatic for her. It's yeah, she said it's probably as how long she's been gone. But anyway, big shout out to Katie though for handling phone this morning. It's been pretty steady to say the least. And talked to one gentleman about a little crabgrass he had going on in his yard, and see if we can't get that resolved for him, whether it's through renovation or kill out or whatever. But we get that going. We had a few leads come in already this morning. Hey, hope we're looking forward to that and doing that. So good start to a Monday morning here for us at WLS. Everybody's back from vacations and whatnot for now. Still got a couple scheduled out, but hey, right now we were full steam ahead and out doing a little bit of everything today is what we're doing. Trying to get as many lawns treated as we can. Today and tomorrow looks pretty decent weather-wise for us, and and then Wednesday maybe some better chance of some weather. We'll see what happens. This time of the year it's hard to tell, but also we're not having our traditional summertime weather either, where it's just hey, sometime mid to late afternoon you have some storms roll through and it clears back up. So this is something that Brett Waltz with BAM was him and Matt Griffin were actually talking about on a video that the pattern that we're in right now for the next 7 days is more of something you'd see further out west. But this year it seems like this pattern, due to the jet stream and all, is kind of setting up a little further east. So bottom line is, it's Mother Nature. We say it all the time, but it's the reality. She's driving the bus, so we're just riding and holding on, and that's what we'll do with that. But anyways, got something really fun I want to talk about today. A couple things actually that I think you guys are going to appreciate and get engaged with me, or I hope so. Anyway, but before I get into that, I want to remind everybody that anybody that's in the central Indiana area that may be interested in an awesome opportunity for a nice field day with all different kinds of equipment manufacturers and distributors there. The Indiana Professional Lawn and Landscape Association is hosting their field day on August 20th. It's a Thursday, I believe, so you can check that out. But Thursday, and it's going to be at Hendricks County Fairgrounds, so just a little west of Indianapolis. And they got a full day planned, and we were fortunate enough this year to be part of their day. We've got a bidding and estimating workshop that we're going to do, and looking forward to that. It's going to be fun. We're doing that from 10 to noon, and looking really forward to that. And it's been a little bit since we've been back up in the Indianapolis area, even though it's close to us. It's only about 110 miles. Not a bad trip. But looking forward to going up there. Matter of fact, I'm talking with Rachel today, their event coordinator there, and we're going to do a little Zoom call today. So looking forward to that. You can either participate in the field day and the whole day, or they are offering our program as a standalone registration. So it's not like you have to sign up for the whole day and pay for the whole day. You can just sign up for our part of that class on bidding and estimating. So, love to have you. Love to have you again at Indiana Professional Lawn and Landscape Association. You can go to their website and if you'd like to reserve your spot, feel free to do so. And also, Lawn Pro Radio, we're going to be up there uh, going live from their event. It'd be a great event to do something like that with, and going to get out there and spread the word around a little bit of what's going on in the industry. So if you can't make it, it'd be something neat to listen to that day. So feel free to tune us in all day long, right? So, hey, let's take a short break. We'll be right back for more profit time here on Lawn Pro Radio. I want to, speaking of profit and different ways we make the profit, we all shoot, obviously, that's why we're in business, right? Is to make a profit. That's the reality of it. But I wanted to talk about a little bit today on, and we're not going to talk to the host hour about it, but a little bit about customer service. And do you ask for not 5-star reviews? Yes, that's part of it too. But strictly when you go out and you provide a one-off service for somebody, okay? Whatever a one-off service may look like in your industry, whether it's one landscape lighting job or one holiday lighting job or one irrigation job or, a one mowing job, you know, that's what I want to talk a little bit about today is when you do that, how do you make sure, or do you try to make sure, do you follow up with the customer, or do you say no news is good news? Because I hear a lot of people say that, well, no news is good news. When statistically, I mean, that is the furthest thing from the truth that you can use as a gosh, I'm trying to think of the right word, and the right word won't come out, but to use as a policy for your company, let's call it. What do you call those things? Not a policy for your company, but where you do things, well, the way, yeah, like an SOP. What's your standard operating procedure for this? Hey, on a one-off, are you sending out an evaluation to your customer? Are you asking them for an evaluation? Or hey, you did your job. They called, they made the payment, or they paid through the portal, or they paid you before you left. There's a lot of ways that we think is right, but the only real way to do it right is to ask their opinion and have, hey, did we do a good job? And there's certain things we want to ask, and there's certain things we want to find out. Not just was the job right, but we always ask, hey, how was your experience when you called in? How was the experience with your appointment? How was your experience with the crew? Not just, hey, was the job okay? Or not, and I don't mean okay, but to the way you wanted it done. Were you satisfied with the work? you know um, that's important. And what really got me thinking about talking about this is we got to have a thanks, Craig. I appreciate your comment. The measuring stick, if you will. That's a good way of looking at it. What's the measuring stick that you use for your company, whether you're a one truck operation or a multi crew company? Maybe it's nothing. But if you don't have anything in place, then you're positioning yourself for failure, quite honestly. And I mean, I'm not wishing bad luck on anybody, but the reality of it is no news is not good news. And I used to think like that. Okay. And again, what got me thinking about this was Tabitha got her hair done. I don't know. I think it was Thursday. Anyway, she went to get highlights in her hair and her haircut. Okay. $260 later. I mean, okay. She's like, this really isn't what I wanted. it in the color that I want it. And she says, here's the picture I took with me. I showed it to the girl that was doing my hair. It's nowhere close. And what I really got thinking about when she told me that was, I hear that a lot from women about the person that does their hair. And when I say a lot, just the women that I know, that, man, I can honestly say I don't know that Jane in 39 years ever came back, and it had to be less than a handful of times, and say, man, I just really love my haircut, or I really love the color. Katie's giving me some insight. Come here for a second. She's going to hop on here because I want to relate it to customer service, So why is it that you just accept it? Okay. Why is it you just accept it, Katie?
I think that it's, first of all, a little bit more challenging for color to get exactly right,
All right.
So that's one thing I will give a little bit of credit, like understanding where understanding is due.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's chemistry,
Right.
So there is room for error. Corey, you can empathize with baking on that one. You put a little too much salt in it on accident or whatever. Or let it process a little bit too long or what have you. Okay, so there is a little bit of flexibility on that. So I think that is a little more challenging until you've been to that person enough where they get your formula right. And I think that I'll tie that back to something that for the business here in just a second. So, you have to build a relationship with your hairstylist. They have to get to know your hair.
So you're saying it's okay, because again, we're going to relate this to our business.
It's not okay to not be satisfied and
but
not say anything.
It's okay to know that you should give somebody 2 or 3 chances.
Maybe not 2 or 3 chances. How does it work? But I think
what's the expectation?
I think that it's important for when it's not right to say it's not right. Like I've had an experience where I really wish I would have cut more hair off, and I reached out to my stylist and said, "Hey, I really wish I would have gone shorter." She said, "Sure, come back in, we'll cut a little bit more off."
Yeah.
And didn't charge me.
Okay.
And
does
now,
that
I don't
sound
know
about
that
right
be,
for a haircut and a color?
What?
$260 that she
Oh
paid?
yeah, every bit of it.
Okay.
Yeah, because you've got like I said, all the chemicals, all their training. like we talk about.
I wasn't complaining about the price, and neither did Tabitha.
And that's why, too, I think, mom's the same way, I think, in that they feel uncomfortable bringing up the fact that they're unsatisfied.
Yeah.
So, plus with your hair color, it is a little bit different because you can't, I don't know how many options there are for an immediate remedy, because you probably have to let that sit on your hair for so long before they could even attempt to do anything else, or your hair is going to be falling out. You know what I mean? By putting more chemicals on it. So there probably are some options. I just don't know exactly what they are. But the point is and a lot of people tend to jump around stylists because they are unhappy, but you're not giving that person a chance to get to know your hair.
All right.
Either.
That's fair.
And that we have customers like the guy that we just do maintenance for. He's like, "Hey, can you send out the guy we had before?"
Right.
Because they clearly had a bond on that first service.
Right.
They understood each other. He did it to the level he was expecting, and not that he doesn't trust other people won't, but he knows that guy did it. He understood it. He knows his property. And so I think that makes a big difference.
Right.
When you're approaching customer service from your business as well,
Right. You're right, Katie. So the 260, I mean, these guys are saying now $350 the last time his wife went, $330 for it, so.
And it takes time too. So not only are you paying for the time that they literally can't do someone else's service.
But for that kind of money, why would you feel bad about complaining?
So a couple of things. One,
I know it's personality, some of it.
Some of it's personality, and agree, disagree, or indifferent with what I'm going to say. This might throw, a bomb into the day. I don't know for most of you.
No.
But as a woman, it's harder for us to complain sometimes. Now, I don't have that problem. But in general, I feel like as women, we feel more uncomfortable making waves, especially people from the generation, the age bracket.
Yeah.
Sherry, Tabitha, Mom.
All right. Right.
So not to say anything specific, but
No,
50
a
plus
little bit
women,
older women.
yes, the expectations culturally were very different. You got along to get along. So they don't feel comfortable, even if they get something cooked wrong on their plate, they don't feel comfortable sending it back. Something as small as $20, they feel
No,
uncomfortable.
you're right. You're right.
You
And
know?
that's why I thought it was so important to talk about this today is, I mean, as an industry, regardless, just the service related industry, whether you're doing hair or lawns or whatever you're doing for somebody, it's important to reach out to your customer
Mm-hmm.
because it was yesterday. Tabitha brought up, she says, "Oh, I got an email from wherever she went. I can't remember
Mm-hmm.
now. Really can't. Asking about my experience." And I said, "Well, certainly tell them. Don't,
Yeah.
And I said, if you're not comfortable telling them that, hey, you don't feel like you got your money's worth,
Mm-hmm.
say, hey, my cut wasn't what I expected, or my color wasn't what I expected.
Yeah.
Even if you don't go back,
Right. At least let them
give
know
them the
so
feedback,
they can make the adjustments. Yeah.
because that's what I tried to tell. Not tried. I did. I told Tabitha, I said, at work, we love 5-star reviews and we
Right.
love positive comments, but the ones that make us better are the ones where people say, hey, this is what
Mm-hmm.
I experienced, or
Right.
the trimming wasn't right, or this wasn't right, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they're wrong or right.
Right.
But it gives us a parameter to gauge by.
Correct.
And it goes back to Craig. Hey, you got to have something to gauge by.
Right. And that's where when people do call in, they have a complaint about whatever it is. And like you said, whether right or wrong or indifferent, whether we did it right or didn't do it right, I'll tell, like, if someone says, well, it's been happening each time. Okay, well, I appreciate you bringing it to my attention now, but in the future, if you ever have an issue, call us right away.
Yeah. Yeah.
We want to
don't sit and stew on it.
Correct.
Because the when you look at statistics on that, and I just pulled something up quick this morning. Mm-hmm. Okay. I knew what the answer was. I just didn't know exactly how it was.
Right.
But, accordingly, 96% of unhappy customers never complain. They just go somewhere else.
Yeah. I was going to say, I did some stats on that, I think, in one of my last presentations down at Scotty's. And that's right. And it's staggering, what percentage of people who don't come back for a reason that might have possibly could have been fixed, but they just, right. they either don't feel comfortable saying you did this wrong and I don't like it, or,
and then you don't know why they're
correct.
gone. Damn, was she hadn't bought anything from us, or they haven't done anything for 3 years, or, whatever. I mean, that's why we retarget people. But then, if they're really mad at you about something, again, and this goes back to, we need to know.
Right.
Okay. Take me off your mailing list. Y'all did a terrible job when you were here.
Right.
Well, that's 2 years later that you told us we did a terrible job. You just didn't come back.
Right.
Tell us sooner rather than later. You don't have to hire us again real quick, mm-hmm. or ever again. Right. But that's to my point of, you've got to have something in place with your business. Like we send out that evaluation sheet, both digitally and, paper. We'll send it that. We just want
and
it
it's important to build that relationship with your customer, because ultimately, if someone is comfortable with you, they are comfortable enough saying, I didn't like this.
Right.
Or you did a great job here, but I thought here you missed the mark.
Fred brings up a good thing here. He said it really gets weird when they're not completely satisfied.
Yes.
But they don't say anything.
Yeah.
It was like Friday when I went down to Campbellsville, and I checked into the hotel. And the lady says,
"You want fluff pillow?"
Yeah, yeah. Very, very small, very, very small, community for those of you guys that don't know anything about where I'm talking about. Yes. But it's a very small community, little college town. But anyway, so the top end hotel is going to be a Holiday Inn Express and Best Western, and then some other brick and mortars that probably rent by the hour.
Right.
So anyways, I pull into, I go into register. No, not for one of the hourly ones. I know somebody's going to probably put that up here, but I pull in, and the girl at the front desk was really handled it well, because I was joking with her, really,
Mm-hmm.
and she says, "I need a credit card for incidentals," and I said, "Young lady, exactly," and this was a Best Western. I said, "Exactly what kind of incidentals do you all have here?"
Yeah.
you know, like, I just wanted to see how she'd answer it, but she had practiced it, Katie,
Yeah.
and she said, "Well, it's in case you tear the room up." I said, "Oh," I said, "Well, what kind of hotel have I checked
What kind of
into?
hotel is
What kind
this?
of hotel?" I was just playing.
Yeah.
And she said, "No." She said, "The main problem we have is people smoking in the room. So we get $100 deposit,
Mm-hmm.
advance deposit on your card." I said, "No, everything's fine. We're good with that."
God,
But
remember when
but
like restaurants were broken up into smoking and no smoking
yeah, like
sections?
that was really doing a good thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, to that point, I don't even know the point I was going to make about that.
The
The
incidentals.
the but it was, she was concerned with, she had been trained on customer service.
Yeah.
You
She
know,
knew how to answer the
she
question
knew
and
how
make
to
you
answer
feel
the
satisfied.
question
Yeah.
and to feel satisfied. Now she did, jokingly, before she did say, about tearing the room up, right? but I think she was halfway serious too about that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we just, in case something happens to the room, this is, our protection.
Right.
So I want all of us to take our individual businesses and think about it the same way that corporate America, some of it,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say all of it, but I think traditionally tries to care, you
And I
know?
think too, the way you phrase questions when you do ask people for feedback is very important. So something like, how could we have improved your experience, being the first question instead of 10 questions
10
and then that's the
questions
last
that,
one.
yeah,
You know, even so, if they're 100% satisfied, they would say to that question, nothing. Like,
right.
it was great, or you all did da 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 excellent, So thinking about how what you're actually asking to get the feedback you're looking for is important too. So think about that when you're thinking about
Yeah.
asking for feedback.
Craig makes a good point here. He said the problem with certain services, from hair to restaurants to landscape companies, is the window of opportunity to hit that 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that is true, to get that a perfect experience. And I think it goes back to, then, what's the target? The target is a perfect experience. Reality may be an excellent experience.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a great point. The Craig makes there, for you guys that aren't watching us on Patreon and not seeing
Yeah.
that comment. But he said it's kind of like if you have 5 bushes on one side of the house and something different on the other side of the house, but 2 of the bushes get less sun, they might not grow at the same
Right.
pace. And it's, well, why are these 2 struggling?
Right.
Yeah.
So
it could be after the fact complaints. So
right.
again, that's why
It's also important to ask for that review when it goes in, for example, and they love it and they're excited about it being new and fresh and all that kind of
and
stuff.
then ask about it later on.
Yeah.
Because we even said, anybody that's done pretty much anything with us gets a review opportunity at least once a year.
Oh yeah. Well, and
and
it's in my signature. Not that people are reading my signature in my email, but it is in my signature. It is in every email for a payment someone gets. And then we also have specific opportunities where we reach out directly about reviews as well. So,
right.
but definitely try to, this week, and I talked about this, I think, on my show. I like to have if you walk away with one nugget from this conversation that you can implement right away, I think it's to start asking for your Google reviews upon completion when it looks great. Like, we've done it. This looks awesome. If they're there, text them the link right away. Hey, would you mind leaving us a Google review?
Right.
That takes them right to the review. Make it easy. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Don't make it 10 steps to get to the Google review or wherever you want them to leave your review.
Just a click.
Make it
easy.
Prompt, just in time is what I used to say in teaching. We want just-in-time instruction. Here's your instruction. Leave a Google review right now. Here's the link. Okay, thanks.
Yep. Make it easy. Yeah, true that. I think realistically, it is the customer that doesn't tell you anything.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some stats on this too. I didn't get those up, but you just know it from being in business. The person that doesn't complain is probably your most dangerous customer if they had a bad experience, because they're not telling us, but they're probably telling you.
Right.
Well, God, I wouldn't call them, but we never got a chance to fix it. So make yourself the one that's going to be the one to reach out and try to get that completed. Because it really is. I mean, let's see. Here is something. Here is something kind of touching on that. There's also cited related statistics that for every customer who complains, roughly 26 others have the same problem but say nothing.
Yeah.
So that's pretty crazy.
Yep.
Pretty crazy. So I mean, none of us like complaints. I hate complaints. Katie really hates them because her and Kyle deal with 99% of them. But the reality of it is, it's the only way to try to fix something for somebody. And some people, no matter what you do, is not going to make them happy.
Correct.
You've experienced that in your time here, right? That you're wrong no matter what you tell them the answer is.
Right.
And that's can become problematic too. But, take the time, make the effort to find out what their experience was with you. And I think Katie brings on a really good point of what you brought up about, finding out early on, hey, how was your experience?
Yeah.
Rather than that being the last. And you're right, it is a last on a lot of them.
Right. Ask what could we do to improve right away, because then you'll know if they're really satisfied or not.
Yeah. And they may not get through 10 or 12 or 15 questions.
Right. And if you're, keep it short, keep it simple. And if you're doing it digitally, make sure you have someone that follows up promptly. That doesn't have to be every day, but it should be, if you're, let's say you hold them all till Thursdays, then on Fridays, somebody's responsibility should look and see if there's responses. And if they are, address them as needed.
And I think what you'll find too is what we've found in most cases, I would definitely say the majority of our cases is, they're not going to cancel necessarily. It's not and there was, I haven't looked up current stats on this, but listening to somebody's issue is very, very important. And you're really good at that. You let somebody roll and rattle pretty long before you ever even say anything. And I know, I think it was U.S. News and World Report, goes back several years now, but did a survey on service-related businesses and why they failed or why they struggled, and or why customers moved along, went to somebody else. And most people think it's price, but it's really not price. Hell, you can look at that and by what people are saying that their spouses are paying for hair. I mean, it's all over the board. And just like our services are all over the board, in everybody's market, right? But I think we just need to be a little more aware of how important it is to find out from our customers what their overall experience was, what we can do to keep them loyal to us. And this survey said that 68% and I remember that number specifically, 68%, and may not be accurate now, so let's clear that up if somebody Googles it. But at that point, that's definitely way past half.
Yeah.
Of consumers changed because of the attitude of indifference on the way their complaint was handled. Acting like you don't care, or acting like, are not following up, could be a lot of things. Corey here says we follow up with every client on completion of any landscaping service. They use Jobber, sends them a survey to reply to. I always tell them, I'm not so much worried about this sale as I am the next 10. And And that's it. It goes back to the loyalty, Corey. That's it. That's exactly right. And that's what we found. And that's where, I haven't talked about it for a while, but y'all have listened to me for a while, have heard me talk about it. But, the question, and it's one of a few books that I've read, uh, but is the question is, what's more important, customer satisfaction or customer loyalty? And the answer to that, in my opinion, and is in this author's opinion, was loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not going to satisfy every customer. I've seen that in my years in business. You guys have seen it in your years of business. The reality of it is, we're not going to please everybody all the time, but if we're not doing something right, we need to know about it so we can try to fix it. And statistically, the companies that do address it right away, there's more loyalty. Mm-hmm. The customer does come back to Corey's point here, that, hey, it's not this sale. That sale's done. It's been sold. It's been scheduled. It's been completed. You're thinking like we do, Corey. Hey, what are they going to buy next?
Right.
It's about that next reoccurring sell. So take the time to do it. I appreciate y'all's input on that. Katie, thanks for hopping on quickly for us. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with more Profit Time here on Lawn Pro Radio. Appreciate all your comments too. I got a text here from Ben, and he says one can't make a change if they don't know anything about it. So again, topic's right on top. Ben, he's got a lot of experience dealing with people as well, and great guy. Worked at the dealer level, distributor level, and manufacturer level in sales, and respect his opinion quite a bit. And it really does boil down to that is, sometimes people just want to vent. That's one thing. But this is actually about letting somebody vent. This is about getting somebody to tell you that their experience wasn't what they expected. And statistically, obviously, I mean, it proves that, most people don't say anything. They just buy from somebody else next time. So it's up to us, each and every one of us, to decide, hey, how are we going to try to make sure that ABC Company or Miss Smith or whoever it is had a positive experience with your company? And if you don't do it, who will?
I think too, you talked a lot about what you do after the work's done, but also you kind of established that before too, as you're selling the job, hey, if when we do this work, whether it's your home and you notice something or you notice afterwards, um, like we want that feedback. So establishing that you do care about their thoughts, even before the work started or done,
right,
is a good way to make them feel comfortable with telling you their thoughts.
Yeah. It's not like it's the first time you've had communication with them, and to your point, Daniel, that actually does come into play. Very important. Did you show up on that appointment? How quick were you? It all starts from the beginning, and we're kind of getting further into this than I thought about today. But that is the reality. It begins. It begins with the phone call, but the reality of it never ends, or it shouldn't. Right? I mean, that's our target goal for each and every one of us, is that relationship that our customer initiates, whether they found us, Google searching it and they liked your website, or they saw your truck going down the street and, your truck was clean, your equipment's clean, or they saw a job site and, work was getting done and it looked professional, regardless of why they call. And that's all very important. Just another topic. Regardless of why they call, the most important thing is when they do call and they do fit into your customer profile. And that's something a lot of people don't have too. And we're not going to talk about that today either. But so those things are aligning. Then when, to Daniel's point, then, hey, let's create a very positive customer experience from the phone call, through the appointment, through the proposal process, through the installation, or through the one mowing or whatever it may be, whatever. Doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that you show them you care throughout the process. And something my dad used to always say, it's service after the sale that consummates the relationship. And I think that's something that we can all use as a takeaway today is what are you doing or what are you considering? And maybe both of those things, or realistically both of those things. Give me a little drink of water here. But, what are you doing to consummate that relationship, with your customer? So a lot to be said on that, but I did want to bring that up, and to Katie's point, and for our female listeners out there, I wasn't picking on women saying, why don't y'all say something? It's only because I would say something most times, whether it's a haircut or this or that. But I think Katie made a good point too. Sometimes when you look at demographics, and I believe this does have a lot to do with it too, Daniel, honestly. When we look at it from the demographic side, it's it may be that as we get into, would you say, Katie, 50 and above? Yeah. 50 and above age group, maybe the demographics of that female type client, they're going to be less as a whole to complain unless you say, what was your experience? Now, when you ask, they might tell you, but that's the whole point of this conversation today is what are you doing to ask, for that. So, and I don't know, Daniel, what's your thought on somebody providing service for you? They come out and provide service. Would you be in the 96% that don't say anything, or would you be in the 4% that do?
I'd be in the 96 that doesn't.
Yeah, me too. Probably in a lot of cases, honestly, depending on what it was.
I think, yeah. I mean, I'm much more don't say anything though. Like I'm way deeper on that scale than most. But yeah, I don't know.
As much as we talk about it here, and about, hey, we want the feedback, we want the feedback, we want the feedback. And then I just sit here and admit it that I'm probably one that won't complain unless it's now I'm putting parameters on it, right? But unless it's something that really does matter, and it all matters, but if something really does matter to me.
Yeah, and that's but you're also not the business when you're the customer. It's not up to you to yes, it's up to you to say it, but it's not up to you to put the question out there.
Yeah.
Like if the business should be taking the responsibility. If they want to know, then they should be asking.
I'm curious, how many of you guys, if you don't mind sharing, whether you do it through a comment here on our Patreon post, or you want to send me a text, how many of y'all are actually using some type of email or some paper or something to get feedback from somebody? And if it is, do you find that digital works better? I would think, again, that's going to go back to demographics, right? A lot of people are going
mostly, but I feel like if someone can work digital, that's always the best. Like, assuming because no one wants to get something in the mail, fill it out, find a pen,
and mail it back.
Mail it, get a stamp. Most people aren't keeping stamps. I don't care if you're 50 or 60 anymore. You're not probably keeping stamps. You might find one way up in the attic somewhere, but most people aren't sending letters, so it's more inconvenient at 99% of people's ages. Yeah.
Yeah. You've got to, and if you're going to go that route, then there's probably something, to do, but, yeah, Hecapus says the easier you make it, the more responses you have a chance of getting. I agree 100% with that. I know with ours, we do put a return envelope in with them, just to maybe help push that along. But
it depends too. Like if you're sending it with something that they benefit from or that they have to do or need to do in order for something to happen. But if it just says, "Hey, how did we do? Fill this out and return it." Well, or like, well, what's in it for them? Like, why should they do that?
Doug said he's only 35 and he's got a stamp.
We can all find them, but
True that.
certainly not like the older days when it was like, oh, this is the only way you can send it out.
Yeah,
So you better keep your roll of stamps, know where they
keep
are,
it there.
or else
Keep
you
it
can't
there.
communicate with anybody.
Oh Lord. All right. Well, that's kind of true that, and we'll wrap that part up on the stamp. Absolutely. But course of action is make sure you got something in play to find out what the consumer's response is, and have a measuring stick, measuring tool to keep track of that. Just like we track a lot of different things within our companies, but it's very important to keep track. And I'll tell you what also it does for you. If you've got more than one crew, uh, I'm going to say this, and then if you're only one truck, I'm going to say something. But more than one crew, it gives you an opportunity to micromanage, to find out how a particular crew's doing on mowing or trimming or blowing or weed control, or if you're constantly getting calls about people that have weeds in the back of their yards, then that may be something with an applicator not walking to the back of the property. So I mean, it gives you an opportunity to look at it from a micromanagement standpoint as well. So it just so many different opportunities. And if you say, well, it's just me, and if my customer has a complaint, they'll tell me when I'm there. I just challenge each and every one of you guys to just, start right now. You guys that are one truck operations, or you guys that aren't doing any type of fact finding missions, okay, about your service, simply just start asking your customers when you see them, hey, what do you think about our service? And I want you to tell me the truth. And I think what you'll find out is predominantly you're doing a great job, but you're going to probably hear some comments that they would have never said if you had not asked. And with that being said, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with more Profit Time here on Lawn Pro Radio.
Tired of spending hours on your snow bids? With the quick estimator for snow and ice management from Profits Unlimited, you can generate accurate estimates in minutes, not hours. Calculate per push pricing, per event rates, liquid and granular material rates, seasonal contracts, and more with just a few clicks. It's based on your numbers, not industry standards. Whether you're bidding driveways, lane miles, commercial properties, subdivisions, HOAs, or any other facility, our quick estimator just works. Plus, get access to professional proposal formats, contract templates, and resources designed specifically for snow contractors. Save time, bid with confidence, grow your snow business. Don't let your profits melt away. Check us out at profitsrus.com. That's profits, AREUS.com.
This is Daniel Voles, host of The Pump Station. You're listening to Profit Time Live right here in the Profit Circle. Remember, profit is not a dirty word.
Hey everybody, this is Hecubus with Dynamic Green Products from Poptown, North Carolina. You're listening to Profit Time right here in the Profit Circle, where profit is not a dirty word.
All righty then, welcome back to Profit Time as we wrap up our show today. I got one other topic I want to talk about. It seems to fall in the mix quite a bit, but Craig sent me a text this morning, and Craig, I appreciate all that stuff you sent me, man. It really does. It just jogs good memory stuff for me, man, quite honestly. But about a new hire that he had hired a guy. He was supposed to start today. No call, no show, first day. Even after yesterday, sending him a text. The guy sent the text that, hey, looking forward to tomorrow, man. I'll be there. And here he is, no call, no show. And just wanted to talk about that just for a minute. It's nothing new, right? I mean, it's nothing profound. I mean, there's a lot of things we all tried. We're not talking about employees much today, but the reality of it is, one of the things, that we got to talking about, Craig and I, this morning, he said, it's hard on me as a small company. He said, but I can hardly imagine what larger services go through, in dealing with this. And I bring this out for just a second. Yeah, it's challenging for anybody, small or large. Okay. But I really think, in my years of experience, that it's almost harder on a smaller company than it can be on a larger company. And the only reason I say that is this: I remember days when I was counting on somebody to be ready to go to work and get in that truck with me and help me go knock out those yards that I was going to mow that day, trim that day. And if they didn't show up, it really messed my day up. It really did. It really messed your day up. Um, let's see. I appreciate these texts, man, still coming. But what I found is a little easier, if you will, and it still doesn't make it good. It still doesn't make it right. But, I think the larger your company is, or the more crews you have, the more people you have, it gives you an opportunity to move some people around, even though you don't like doing it. I mean, I don't, it ain't my favorite thing to do either, because, somebody's used to being on one route and they go on another route and they may or may not know the properties, or depending on who, are you having to move a crew lead, or you having to move, a helper, what, depends on the solution that you're trying to fix. But I would say that it's a little bit easier when you got more people that you would have to move around, for you to get through the trials and tribulations of that. Now, on the other hand, that can still be a pain, for companies past one truck, whether it's 2 trucks, 5 trucks, 20 trucks, 100 trucks. It's basically the same issues that are going on within our businesses. It's just on a different or grander scale in the way they happen. But it is a little bit concerning that, and I saw a thing, Daniel, I saw yesterday where there were 23,000, I don't know, accurate, inaccurate, but 23,000 jobs were lost last month. It sounds like a huge number, but when you look at the United States, but the bad side of that said
What were they lost to?
Just people that evidently reported unemployment benefits or signed for unemployment benefits. Okay. But they said where it really was bad, though, they were expecting job creation of about 120K. Okay. So that off of that plus 120 or 102, I can't remember exactly what it was. It makes it, that there's people out there that want to work, need to work, or not want to work, but need to work. Mm-hmm. And it's not just I can hear some of you guys saying, well, man, it's the industry. BS to that. I can tell you it's not specific to this industry. I know where Tabitha works, they've been trying to fill a position over there for over a year, and they can't find anybody that can come in and do the job the way it's supposed to be done. So it's not just our industry. I think it's across the board kind of issue. Doug says he had a new guy start it last Tuesday and quit 6:30 a.m. Wednesday. Said it wasn't a job for him. I can believe that. Yeah, I'm surprised. And hell, you've probably had to send them home before. On the other hand, tomorrow is one of our troublesome guys' last day. He just doesn't know it yet. So that may make everybody feel better, So, but no, that is true, Doug. I mean, 100%. Let's see what we got going here. Got a few texts coming in. I know we're running up on time, but we're okay, right? Yep. Let's see. Larger companies typically hire for attrition, whereas smaller can only hire 1 or 2 at a time. Exactly. It's far worse in hospitality than in landscaping, Heckapa said. with the no call, no show before start, I can imagine that would be bad. Yeah. When you're counting on, you got 1,000 people getting ready to walk into an event, or 500 or 100, whatever it is. I can imagine the pressures of that would be different. So, yeah, it's certainly not easy on anybody, but Craig and everybody, man, I just hope for everybody's sake it gets a little bit easier for you. And I mean, we're not going to talk about today on, hey, the retention things that we can do, or the create loyalty with your employees, and we'll talk about that on another day. But I do believe that most companies, and certainly everybody here, listening to us on Lawn Pro Radio, and I sincerely mean this, and in the profit circle with us, that you're good companies. When we got small companies, we got large companies. They're good companies, but the similar problem does a lot of time fall back to, and to help. And Aaron Walls actually talked about that on his show this morning, right, Daniel? A little bit. You
Yep.
said about where he's talking about just going back to him. The pain and suffering of trying to get the right person with the right work ethic and the right care about my job and all those things we looking for in somebody. And I can tell you this. I mean, I know everybody's pay rate and everybody's market's different and all that, but the reality of it is, I wouldn't have thought we had got to the time frame where I guarantee you none of us on this platform are paying anybody unemployment. I don't even know what not unemployment, minimum wage. I mean, I don't even know what minimum wage varies from
State to
state, but none of us are close to that. I do believe that 100%. I think somebody a few days ago I was talking about uh, their minimum wage was like $17 and something. But my point is, well, regardless of what it is, I don't think there's anybody that I know, here with us in Profit Time or Lawn Pro Radio or in a Profit Circle, that's paying anything close to minimum wage and expecting to get anything back. So it's not always the money. Some of it, or a lot of it, certainly is mindset. So maybe it's something we look at a little bit, and not our mindset. But at what point, and here's something we'll think about as we close the show today. At what point do you take a look at your company and say, okay, what do we have in common of the people that we're hiring, and why are they not successful? And I'd be willing to bet it's not one thing. It could be blamed on one thing, because that makes it seem like the solution is going to be easier to fix one thing. But it's not necessarily you. It's not necessarily your help. It's not necessarily the people you're trying to hire. It can be a little bit of all of it rolled into one. It's kind of like when a customer cancels. And I know a lot of times, and I believe this 100%, some people say, well, I got somebody less expensive. Well, my point and my answer to that is, you hired us at that price. Why all of a sudden now is price the factor? What did we do differently to lose the value of the price we were charging compared to what you want to pay now? And I think that is its own topic of discussion. It is its own topic of discussion, but I think that goes a long way into figuring out what could we do different and better to maybe find somebody. We're overall, I'll say we're overall very fortunate here at Wayne's Lawn Service. Quite honestly, we have our fair share of no call, no shows in the past. We certainly have, but we've got a really good history of retention and loyalty at different levels through our company. So and I'm not saying we're doing it right and everybody's doing it wrong, because we get mad here sometimes too when you get two or three out, and that's a big problem to come over, overcome for a day. But thing is, you're always going to get through it. Sun's going to come up tomorrow. You might not get what you wanted to get done that day, but just try to remain positive with it. I think that's probably a good close, is try to remain positive, Craig and Wayne and everybody, that, hey, at the end of the day, there's, all we can do is try to make changes. Same thing we talked about in customer service, right? Let's look at it from a customer service standpoint too, and say, hey, we need the feedback, from our customers so we can make our customer experience better. Why somebody no calls, no shows after they said yesterday they're going to be there, Craig? I mean, I don't know. You got any input on that, Daniel? I mean, that's crazy.
There's too many. Yeah, there's too many options.
Too many variables as to why, but the reality of it is, I know Craig's got enough experience to ask the right questions and do the right things to have somebody lined up to come in, and then they make another choice. So some will, some won't. So what? Appreciate y'all's time today. Appreciate you listening to us here on Profit Time and Lawn Pro Radio. You guys have a great day. And remember, profit is not a dirty word.